Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Sunday Social Podcast. My name is Derek.
And I'm Jonathan.
And today we are talking all about leadership. And today's episode is inspired by this book that you see right in the middle. It's Jonathan's newest book called Likeable Leader alongside Jason Young. And we wanted to kind of flip the script a little bit. This book is all about what you should do to be likable. But we thought, what shouldn't you do? What are some things that you don't want to do as a leader?
Because listen, we've worked in churches long enough.
Yes.
Or we've worked with enough people who work in churches to know all the things that just like drive us crazy about our leaders.
Yes.
That make us want to not like them.
Yeah. And leadership books are
We
all
love
about what
them.
you should do.
We love them,
No, we do.
but we don't like them.
Exactly. They're not likable.
Yes.
If you want to be likable, pick this up.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be liked, do everything we say on this video,
This will be your guideline.
which we don't advise. But yeah, so what you shouldn't do as a leader, or what we feel like leaders have kind of lacked in certain areas. Yeah. So
I don't know about you, but I heard growing up about this idea called the Oreo method, where whenever you need to correct someone, you tell them one thing that they're doing really well,
yes.
one thing they're doing badly, and then one thing they're doing well again. I think that's bull.
I've heard it as a sandwich method too.
The sandwich
it's like
method.
same thing.
Yeah, but like every time someone does that, maybe because it's so well known, like we know the negatives coming. And so it almost like, and maybe it's just the fact that they're not being like sincere with it. But like, so I'm like, Derek, you're such a good designer, but you smell.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just want to say like, you're such a valuable asset to the group. That feels so insincere, right? Like I'm just like looking for something to compliment. He doesn't smell, by the way. He smells nice. But like I feel like I've seen that so many times where it's like, and it's even worse where it's almost like, hey, we're so grateful for you. Like it's so imprecise, the compliment, and then it's like, but hey, we really feel like you need to step up your game and volunteer more. But we're just so appreciative of you. And like, that's not remotely an Oreo method. That's like, you're just like giving vague praise, correcting, and then giving vague praise. I don't know. Have you ever experienced like, what's your take on that?
I think too, another thing is you can tell how, and this is my opinion, I think you could tell how well the person knows the person they're correcting by how much they feel like they need to, on the front end, like praise them and not get to what they need to get to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like if I know a person, I'm okay with like confronting the issue versus you feel like you need to fluff it up because you don't really have relationship with that person.
Yeah. I think some of it too is just like the context. Like, so if I'm correcting a volunteer about, hey, we don't put this here, we put that there. Like the Oreo method is stupid. Like, why are you wasting my time whenever it's just a simple thing? Like most volunteers, I would say, nay, all volunteers you have actually want to do a good job.
Yeah.
Like they want to be successful at their role. So a simple correction of like, hey, just so you know, we do it over here, not over here. They'd be like, oh yeah, okay, thanks for telling me. I've been doing it this way for 5 weeks. I wish someone would have told me sooner, right? Like, I think so often we're afraid to confront, and because of that, it's like when we talk about this in the book, but like it's the idea that like we want to be liked so much that we're nice instead of kind, meaning like we're like only say good things to people. But honestly, like real likability is like, I know what to expect from this person.
Right.
And so sometimes when you just are who you are and give people what they can expect, it's a much better experience.
Yeah. Like there's this concept, be kind with candor, like kind and candor, like both. You need both as a leader. You can't just be overly kind, because then you're never going to confront issues that need to be fixed.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the illustration of like, someone's about to walk into traffic because they're on their phone. Like you could nicely say like, hey, over there. Hey, just want you to look up, Whereas like actual kindness is like, dude, get off your phone. You're about to die.
Yeah.
Like you can even be kind of harsh, I would say.
Yeah, you're trying to save their life.
Yeah, like if Jesus was kindness, right? Like one of the things we talk about in scripture, or the Bible talks about, is be kind, right? Be kind one to another. So Jesus obviously modeled that, but he was pretty harsh with the disciples sometimes out of kindness, out of love. And I think that's a big thing. Like, are you actually being kind? Are you actually being loving? Yeah. And I think sometimes in churches, we're so focused on getting the task done that we don't necessarily care about the person. They're almost
Yeah.
like a tool to be used to get the task done instead of like an individual in and of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of times as leaders we stray away from confrontation, which kind of goes in line with the next thing, which
Yeah.
is we address issues that maybe only one person is having, and we address it as in the group.
Yeah.
Like a group setting of like, hey guys, remember to arrive early, let's
Yeah.
be on
And
time.
everyone
But it's
knows-
like one person that's
Yeah.
always late.
Everyone knows that one person. Everyone else is showing up on time. So you're almost like spitting on the other people. Like, hey guys, need to show up on time. I am showing up on time. Why are you like, I don't know. My wife's especially like, she's so good at receiving criticism, but almost to a fault, because like she did this in college all the time. Where like, they were like, hey guys, you really need to study for this class. You're going to fail. 50% of people fail this class. So if you don't study. And so she like took that to heart. She was already going to study. Like she was never going to be
Yeah.
at 50%. But then she like ramped up the study even more, because if she gets correction, she takes it seriously. And I think so many times like we kind of like the best people we have, by like not addressing the people that are the problem directly, we actually irritate and agitate the best people we have.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, I mean, I don't know. I've been in that situation where you almost feel like they're talking about you, but they're probably not. I don't know. You ever feel like that?
So we left the church that I'm back at. We came back to this church, but we left it. And like, it's funny because we were kind of on our way out, but we were like taking it slowly. And like in that period, our pastor was like, he knew that we were kind of thinking about leaving, and he was just talking about like this thing. He wasn't actually talking about us, because
Yeah.
like we were leaving well, like we like, but we took it so personally, the things that he was saying. But like the truth was, and I had to remind my wife this, I'm like, he's like has like 800 people, and like probably 10% at any given time are doing the same thing we're doing.
Yeah.
And so he's talking to all these people, no one in particular necessarily, but it is so easy to take it personally, because like, am I the problem? And you don't know, because no one's willing to address it.
Right.
I do really appreciate that about my pastors. Like when we had those conversations, like he told me directly, like it was never like he's never like beat around the bush. He's like, this is what's going on. And I'm like, thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. So I don't have to guess what you're going to be saying about me behind my back. Like he never talked about my behind my back. He talked to my face. And that's likable. I find that likable, right? Like
you need those people.
my she grew up in Miami, and like when she moved to Texas, it was really hard because there was a lot of like passive aggressiveness, which is kind of this, where it's like, we just beat around the bush. We don't really address the topic. And then she's like, can you just tell me to my face if you don't like me? Like, she's Latina and like super. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. We need that.
Yeah.
We need more of that. Another thing is
Number 3.
Yeah, number 3. Yeah, we're on number 3. Is focusing on artificial or hype. In other words, putting performance over people, I think, is a big thing. Like we kind of focus on things that really aren't pushing the needle forward.
Yeah.
We're more so just because the perception of it looks cool. Another thing is like, for me personally, having like a bunch of people. I would always try to get a bunch of people on my team because I feel like I look cool as a leader, but really, I don't know if that really meant a lot. It doesn't really push the needle forward versus finding really quality people that are going to really help build what we're trying to build.
Yeah. It's tough when you're like on staff at a church, because your value can only be measured in tangible things, right?
Yeah.
Like if you saved someone's marriage, that's never going to go on like a performance report, right?
Right.
Like you're not probably, you maybe hopefully talk about that in staff meeting, like in like the pastoral staff meeting, right? But like that does not factor into whether or not you did a good job, but like butts in the seats, that's what matters, right? Or like the size of your team, and it can be very focused on numeric results, which, man, your team could be like hanging on by a thread. Your team can be doing a poor job. And that doesn't matter as much as like the numbers. We see that all the time with social media. There was someone who actually asked us, like, what do we do whenever like our pastor has like a minimum number of comments he wants to see on every post? I'm like, you can't do that. Like you're going to constantly just be like asking comment bait questions so that you get comments, right? You'd be like, PC or Mac, and you're going to get those 5 people who are really like passionate about that, right? So, I mean, that's a huge topic. I think that happens a lot of times in churches, especially churches where we're focused on growth, where we're like, we gotta hit, we want to be bigger than last week, right?
Right. Yeah. And when you get so consumed about the next thing or the new person that you forget like who's already there, which it goes in line with number 4, and that's overlooking the consistent until you're about to lose them.
Yeah. You ever like, You ever been in like a volunteer huddle and like they're like, we just want to shout out, and they never shout people out. We just want to shout out Samantha. She's killing it. She's here every single week. She's never missed a week for 5 years. We want to give you a $15 gift card to Chick-fil-A. And like, unfortunately, what's happening behind the scenes is they realize Samantha's about to burn out.
Yeah.
And they're like, we got to do something to keep her. We got to make her feel appreciated.
But like the whole 5 years she was there, like she didn't get a single thing or yeah, it's always tough because it's like you rely on those people, so you never really not notice them, but they're so consistent.
Yeah.
You just know they're going to be there.
Yeah.
It's always the people that aren't the most consistent that you're putting all your energy to, which it should be the reverse.
Honestly, it's you focus on getting new people, frankly.
Right.
Because you're like, if I get the new people, and I mean, we talked about this in another podcast. The statistic is it's 8 times more expensive, at least in business, to get a new customer than to keep an old one.
Mm-hmm.
Man, if you were able to focus your attention on just like caring for the volunteers, seeing what you have in front of you and being good to them. Like, I mean, it's funny because we also talked at lunch before this podcast that we talked about the idea that like sometimes we kind of like, I would hope no church does intentionally, like, but we kind of dangle a carrot in front of someone whenever we want something from them. Like you've seen it where like someone was like, hey, you know, if you keep consistent here, if you keep like plugging away, there's a chance that a position might open up for you.
Yeah.
And like 3 years down the road, that position's nowhere to be found, right?
Yeah.
And they've hired 2 more people that are not you. It's like a reality is like sometimes, and I think the heart is that like, I hope there'd be a position for you. I would love to have you.
Yeah.
And like the reality is it's probably not going to happen, but we can do that so often. And that kills our likability.
Yeah.
Like this person is just lying to me. They're using me. They're manipulating me. And unfortunately we see that a bunch in churches.
And I already know people's argument is going to be, well, you know, you should just do it for God no matter what. And I get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like if something's being presented to you, of course it's going to feel enticing and you want to like work harder to get that done. Meanwhile, it may never happen. Yeah. And on the leader side, it's probably unintentional. Like you said, their heart is probably in the good place. But I think even just referencing that in the first place is not the thing you should do, because if it's not a solidified thing, why even mention it?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the Bible says our hearts are deceptive and desperately wicked, right? Like who can know? And I think there is actually this manipulative piece, because it's like the reality of ministry is that like Sunday comes every 7 days, which is like obvious, right? But like it's relentless and we always have to get each Sunday fixed. And so we can consequently like resort to duct tape tactics where we're like, if I can just survive this Sunday. So this person that's maybe going to quit, if I can just survive this Sunday, we'll figure it out next Sunday. And like, then Monday comes around and you're like, oh, I got to survive the next Sunday. And we do these things that like unintentionally, I think we do it subconsciously.
Well, I think too, because it's the nature of volunteering. Like we can't give them anything else. Like
it's true.
You know, you're giving up your time to build this church. So it's like, we're trying to figure out ways to keep them motivated in a sense.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's tough. I think a lot of churches too, especially in like the mid-size, like 200 to 800 range, like the budgets are not clearly distinguished. So I'm like, dude, I really want to show appreciation to the person. Like I would love to buy them a gift card, not because they're burning out, but like, I don't think I have the money for that. And so we only notice that we need to do that. And we prioritize getting money for that whenever we're like, oh, we're about to lose this person. Whereas man, like, I think a lot of it too comes from the idea of like in ministry, you tend to have like a bunch of like, you're not a leader, you're a graphic designer who also has to deal with volunteers, or you're a pastor who preaches, who prepares a sermon 30 minutes or 30 hours a week, and then they have to also lead. So like we're struggling to get our tasks done, and then we have to lead these people too, and we don't have time to care. And I feel like it should be the opposite way around. Like we should probably let volunteers do more of the actual tasks. And I know that's like a sensitive subject, because I get like comments every now and then on my Instagram where it's like, oh wow, getting a volunteer to do what you should be getting, what you get paid for, and they're getting to do it for free. And the reality is like, I think our best thing to do is we can like empower, love, support people who can do things that are awesome. Because like if I'm cared for, I'll design 10 hours a week, like for fun, and I'll love it. Like, and if it's legitimately being cared for, if like people are noticing me, people are like thanking me, and yes, I'm doing it for God, but I'm imperfect and I need I need that boost.
Some affirmation.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Throw me a bone here.
Throw me a bone.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely one that I feel like leaders can miss the mark on, is they get so worried about the next thing versus who's already there committed to what they're doing. But then also because they want to keep them for as long as they can, they'll promise these things or make these false claims. Again, unintentional, but we probably got to stop doing that.
We definitely need to stop doing that, man. That's not a probably.
That's a for sure. Okay, number 5, focusing on the task over people, which we kind of mentioned.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I think we get so focused on, and I think all of this kind of feeds into the Oreo method too, where it's like, I'm more worried about my job getting done, which I think this feeds into it. Like, oh yeah, you're getting a volunteer to do what you're getting paid for. Is like, I'm so worried about how this presentation will look on me or how the positioning of people will look on me that I'm worried about you getting your task done instead of like, dude, this person is like giving up their Sunday. They could be hanging out with their friends right now. They could be like chilling with their kids, you know, in their pajamas still. Like, they're giving up their Sunday to be a part of this. And you're so worried about the task. I mean, it's kind of like the planning center problem, right? Where you're like, you see an empty planning center roster and you're just like, I got to plug names in there. You don't care who they are. Like, you honestly don't care who they are. You just got to get a name in there. If you're the worship leader, you care because you want a good drummer, right? Like, you don't want your C-level, D-level drummer, right? But like, it's for like kids ministry, social media team, all these things where it's like, I just got to get a body in there. It can be very much like, I just got to get the task done. And that feels like horrible as a volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know that on the other side as a volunteer, you kind of get that sense of like, oh, I'm just here to fill a role. Like, do they really even know who I am or anything about me, about my life?
Yeah.
When's the last time they asked about me, you know? So you can always sense it when you walk into a space and you just feel like you're just there to fill in a role.
Yeah.
You know? Another thing, number 6, is holding on to people too tightly. Now, I will say Jonathan does not do this, which is incredible.
Thanks, man.
And I would say that genuinely because I have had leadership in the past that you can get that sense of like they don't want to lose you. And so they'll try to do things to not lose you, but in turn, it kind of they kind of do lose you because of it.
Yeah.
So, but I think Jonathan has been very empowering to be like, hey, if there's other opportunities, like don't be afraid to share them with me and let's figure this out together. Versus some leaders will like just try to hold on to you and not like hear you out in any area. And so you kind of feel trapped in this, in this place where you're like, man, I can't even share things with this person. So
I have a friend who he worked at a church and he had this opportunity, like a large church, really well known, really well respected church was hiring. And he's like, dude, I'm going to go apply for it. And somehow people at his current church found out and they said, hey, listen, man, if you go up for that interview, your job's done. Like, whether you get that job or not, like your job is done here. And it was like such a territorial, fearful thing that like, okay, so he didn't go to the interview and it sucked. Like he probably still regrets that a little bit to this day, but like ultimately 6 months later, he left the job because he's like there's this thing where like when we hold people too tightly, we lose them. Whereas it's this feeling of being trapped. Like, I don't know, like if someone was standing in front of the door right now in our office, I would want to get out. Whereas like no one's saying that I can leave whenever I want and I don't want to leave, right? I want to be in here with you. But the reality is when we feel trapped, when we feel like cornered, when we feel oppressed and suppressed, we want to escape those bounds. And it's something it's so hard to like, we tend to hold on to people so tightly in ministry. And it's tough. Like you were at your church, you were like this amazing, like you did everything, like video, graphic design, incredible stuff. So of course, why would I want to lose this person? Like, how am I ever going to replace this person? Right. And it can be so tough. And I think we get that so many times in our church. Like, I don't even, then just even the idea of trying to find someone is daunting. So we're like, I can't lose this person. And we can even discourage them. We can like, hey, say little comments like, oh yeah, you probably wouldn't do very well there. And like, it eats away at your likability and it makes them want to leave.
I think even on the flip side, if you empower people, I don't know, I feel like it builds that loyalty to be like, man, this person has always been there for me. And I don't know, you just want to stick around. It's like you feel like it would do the opposite, but it doesn't. It keeps them around even more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a very rare thing to see, though. I will say, I feel like this is a common thing that churches deal with, leaders deal with, because, again, they don't want to lose that person. When you have a quality person that's there and showing up and doing some amazing things, you don't want to lose that because you know how hard it was to get that person.
The same thing goes, I think, for side hustles. I think churches are a lot of times threatened by side hustles, but like, I've found, I mean, this is what I do to all of our team is like, if you are doing something on the side, I want to figure out, can I like buy you a course, or can I help you? Can I encourage you in some way on that side hustle? Can I at least follow you on Instagram and see what you're doing? Like again, that idea of like, people want to stay where they're cared for and valued, even to the detriment. Like people will take lower paying jobs because they feel cared for and valued than if they were to go somewhere else.
Yep. And
sorry, I pay you so little.
And the last one is forgetting about people when they have to step back, which is a huge one. I think making people feel bad almost to the extreme of like, well, you used to serve 4 times a month. Now you can only serve 1. Like, I can't believe you. What's going on? Well, people's seasons of life change. Yeah. Single and now you're not, and you're married and with kids and you were in school and had more free time versus now I'm actually in the career that I studied for and I have a full-time job and things are looking different.
Yeah, that's one of the things I appreciated about my pastor is, again, like he talks about volunteering all the time, and my wife would be like, we're not volunteering right now because right now like we just had a baby, we've been in this season of our life for a long time where we can't volunteer. And I love volunteering. She loves volunteering, but we've had to step back because of a season. And it could be very much like, wow, these people that were like high capacity are no longer volunteering. They're not on board. They're not all in. Like all those sayings we have, right? But like my pastor's like, dude, man, you're in a season right now. Like it's not going to be that way forever. And he realizes my value to the church and to the kingdom of God and to him is more than just what he can get from me this Sunday.
Right.
And I think that's a hard perspective to have, especially I think like 2nd tier, 3rd tier leaders where we're like, again, I gotta get my team staffed.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to, I guess, diversify the people that you have on your team, because you can't put all your eggs into one person.
The single person. Yeah. It's always the single person just out of college.
Then then it falls apart when they're gone. So if anything, it's a push to find other people that are capable and maybe split up the things that they do into different people and not have to rely on that one person. Because then that, again, person can sense when they feel like they can't take a step back because they do so much. So then then resentment starts to build up because they're like, man, I have to be here. I have to do this. It becomes like a daunting thing for them to have to show up to, versus being able to focus on their life and have church be a part of something that they do in their life, not something that they are taking priority over everything else.
Yeah. And I think that comes down to like, to care again, the idea that I value these people and what we can do together. Mm-hmm. I don't value what I can do, and these people are just pawns in the scheme of what I can do. Mm-hmm. And that's I feel like the key. I mean, that's what I think we came back to over and over in this book, is that kindness matters, that love. Are you genuinely loving your people? Because people like people who love them. People like people who they can be successful under, that they can like know where they stand. And all of that is care, all of it is kindness, all of it is just like genuine love. And how do you do that? You just love people. Like you spend time loving people. I mean, like, I think, I talk about this when I speak in public a lot, where like my wife, I had to start making to-do list notes to like show her that I loved her, which is so not loving in a sense, but it's my personality type. I get so focused on my task that I did put a to-do list item where it was like, do something romantic for your wife. So it was like, buy her a gift. Or sometimes it was a matter of like, text her first during the day instead of her texting me first. Like, again, that's an understanding of my own weakness, of my own like failing as a husband, and realizing I gotta put structure in place to help me actually be caring toward her. And it does change your perspective. I know people who like, for learning names, like my dad talks about this pastor he worked with where like he knew everyone's name, and he was like, how did you, like, that skill is just amazing. You just must have been born with that. He's like, no, I used to be horrible at it, but I started carrying note cards in my pocket, and I would write the name whenever I met someone, and I would study it during the week. And after years of doing that, he no longer needed the cards because it became part of a value for him. And I think that's, if you're serving in a church, if you're leading people in a church, if you have even one volunteer, you need to start putting systems in place to help you care for them and love them.
Boom.
That's my take.
That's the core theme of this whole podcast episode.
Yeah.
If you want to be the most unlikable leader, have 0 systems in place and do not care about people.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a likable leader, do the complete opposite. And yeah, for sure, people want to be under your leadership and follow you wherever you go. So yeah, check out this book, Likeable Leader. Pick it up, Amazon, everywhere, right? Everywhere you can buy a book.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Online, wherever you get your books at. And I promise that once you implement what's in this book, you're going to be able to be the most likable leader.
The most.
Guaranteed. Money back. No,
money back guaranteed.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in to another episode. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.